Could you tell us your name, please?
Yeah, I'm Naomi Cohen.
What was the purpose of tonight's program?
Well, the All People's Congress and the People's Anti-War Mobilization called tonight's program to raise funds for the demonstration that we're planning on January 21st, which is when President Reagan is being inaugurated.
What part of the program did you help in?
Well, I sing with the All People Singers, and we contributed a few songs to the effort here.
If you would see Reagan face to face, what would you like to tell him?
Well, we expect to see him face to face because we're going to be right on Pennsylvania Avenue when the inaugural march goes by. And what we want to tell him is that he can't get away with the programs that he's trying to push down the throats of the American people. Basically, what we see him doing is taking the money from our social programs, from food stamps, from welfare, from Social Security, from all the things that people need, and giving it straight to the Pentagon budget. And with that, what they're doing is fighting wars in Central America. They're supporting fascist regimes like the one in South Africa. So we're going to tell him that there's no mandate from the people for these programs, and that if he tries to start a war anywhere in the world, the movement will be there to raise our voice of protest and stop it.
Larry Holmes, I'm with the People's Anti-War Mobilization.
And where does this organization persist of?
Well, we're a coalition of organizations and individuals who are trying to fight the growing escalation of U.S. military involvement in Central America, as well as U.S. military, political, and all ties with the apartheid regime in South Africa. We're fighting for a world providing the basic needs of people, whether that be a job or food or shelter or medical care and education, come before making war on other people. We think that this government, the Pentagon, the military-industrial complex, something like $300 billion a year spent on, has created the kind of arsenal that can help the world 100,000 times over. The people are going to come together, just like you have one finger, it seems weak, but if you put your fist together, it's more powerful. The people are going to come together, and by hook or crook, we're going to push Reagan's policies aside.
May I have your name, please?
Petra Guerra,
Where are you from?
New York City.
What's the purpose of this organization?
The purpose of the All People's Congress is to make people aware of the problems that exist. For example, budget cuts. Reagan is cutting the social services. We have hundreds of people homeless. We have hundreds of people without food. And yet all those cuts are going to the military budget, to the Pentagon. We say that that money that's going to the Pentagon to be sent to other countries, such as Nicaragua, El Salvador, and South Africa, and the Middle East, that money should be invested in homes for the homeless, food for the poor.
What's your role in this organization?
I'm a member of the All People's Congress, just like anybody from the community.
What do you hope to accomplish?
Well, we hope that the people that we work with will not sit back and accept what the Reagan administration is doing, that they go out and they tell Reagan, hey, this is it, that they go out and fight for the rights.
What would you like to tell President Reagan?
I would say, Reagan, feed the poor, house the homeless, stay out of Central America, South Africa, Nicaragua. That's it.
And what organization do you belong to?
I belong to the All People's Congress and the People's Anti-War Mobilization.
Okay, I understand you're protesting against Reagan. What does this protest consist of?
Well, this protest consists of, we're protesting Reagan for a number of reasons, primarily because of the ties that he has with the apartheid regime in South Africa, the U.S. intervention in Central America, as well as the bombings of the abortion clinics that Reagan has refused to acknowledge as acts of terror requiring federal investigation, and other issues like the cutbacks that he's inflicting on the people when we fought so hard to win these basic Social Security rights that he's taking away. And finally, on the fact that he's spending about $10 to $12 million on this inauguration when we know that there are millions and millions of people without homes, without anything to eat, and yet he can go and have these parades and these parties and these balls while there are people starving in the streets.
if you had a chance to meet Ronald Reagan and say one thing to him, what would that be?
I would tell Ronald Reagan that his ties with the apartheid regime in South Africa are representative of what his policies do to the people here, his policies of racism and sexism, his policies of profits instead of needs for the people. Everything that goes on in South Africa is representative of what goes on here, from exploiting the workers in South Africa, the way the workers are exploited here, the racism of the apartheid regime, which is racism that he encourages here, as well as the military backing of the aid that this government sends to Israel goes right back to the apartheid regime in South Africa and props it up. So everything that's connected with that is reflected in this country on the people here.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Oden. May I have your name, please?
It's Bob Lamoth.
What's the purpose of this organization?
Well, the purpose of the All People's Congress is to organize a massive movement in this country to try and stop the Reagan program from causing such devastation across the country for poor people. And really what we hope to do is to organize people to demonstrate, come to Washington, D.C. and other cities across the country to say to Reagan that we don't want his military buildup, and we don't want vicious cutbacks in like food stamps program, welfare programs, child nutrition programs. We want money in this country to go to feed the poor people and not to feed the Pentagon. And by organizing people to come into the streets, it will send a message to Reagan, which we've seen in the past in this country. Only through demonstrations and organizing can we prevent politicians like Reagan and those people that are behind the Pentagon and the military corporations. Really, the only way to prevent them from waging wars in other countries and wars on the people here at home is to demonstrate against them. Just as we saw, for example, in the Civil Rights era, when people took to the streets and had sit-ins at counters, and many thousands were arrested to demand equal rights in this country.
If you were to see Reagan, what would you tell him?
Well, it's nothing that could be said in a very few words. The President of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan, represents the most politically backwards institutions on the face of this earth. I would simply tell him that it's time that white men in particular realize the role that they played historically in the world, the role that they are playing in the world, and to ask him to look within himself and find the consciousness to raise himself and consequently millions of other people above the political institutions that are currently running the United States. In particular, I mean capitalism, colonialism, and imperialism. The United States is currently the single most important cause of all the hunger, the war, malnutrition, ill health, and aggravation that people find on this planet. And I would simply try to explain to him that he would feel better about himself in the end if he could raise his consciousness to the point that he could make the real significant contribution to mankind that he's capable of, rather than being at the center of future wars, hunger, and malnutrition.
What would you like to tell President Reagan?
Well, I am on camera. I would like to tell Reagan, basically, if I had the chance to speak to him directly, I think that he's a criminal. I think that he's a criminal in the White House. A man so arrogant in his really war against poor and working people in America, against lesbians and gay men, you know, against the unemployed, you know, the tax system, which really we pay for, while, you know, according to Fortune magazine, only 52% of the corporations in this country paid any taxes, any. In 1965, the corporate contribution to the tax base in this country was 20%. It's now 6%. And it's people like us who are paying for their share. And we want our just due. And no matter how long it takes or how hard it might be, we're never going to give up, ever.
Thank you.
You're welcome.